Let me make some adjustment in a minute. Okay. Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to be before you today. It's my hope, prayers that what I share with you today will be an enlightenment, will provoke you into thinking about self, your decisions, things that you do. I titled this particular topic self-imposed mental enslavement. Why am I doing this? I was thinking several days ago, maybe months, and I can refer back to myself. I like to use myself as an example, because when you use yourself as an example and you say things, people won't think that you're talking about them. So if when you use yourself, it can be, you can tear yourself down, build yourself up, and you're exposing maybe a weakness in yourself or a weakness in your thought, or you be revealing something to others that they may never heard. So my freedom of my own self, ongoing self-imposed mental enslavement came about many years ago. I was one of these individuals when I was growing up. I did not want to read a book because I felt that I was not interested in any book. Why would it pertain to me? If it had pertained to me, I may have read it, but it didn't pertain to me down to read it. Then I had this thing about it had to be filled with pictures, excuse me. If it did not have any pictures, then I would not read the book. And as I grew older, I thought that was a stupid decision. Because if an individual want to hide something from you or me, they can just simply in a book, put it in a book for me, and I won't read it. So I had put myself in my own self-imposed mental enslavement, blaming others for my lack of knowledge and the truth. When we begin to incarcerate ourselves by our own thoughts, we have become our own prisoner, self-imposed prisoner in our own self-mental institution, mentally that is, and also giving ourselves time served. We let ourselves out on good behavior, then we slip and fall, we run back into our slave mental enslavement, and we just simply give ourselves some more time served. That don't really cause anything. What does it produce? More bitterness, hatred, and anger. Some people don't want to hear anything that go against their self-imposed slavery. They blame others at the same time refusing to consider the change. Some individuals refuse to consider the truth, consider the facts, and just simply do what they want to do and blame someone else. Because I guess it puts you in a position, if you don't really admit that you have a problem, then you won't have to look at it and analyze it and say, okay, I have a problem. This is what I need to do. This is what I need to do to be rid of my behavior, and look at it from that perspective. But then again, everyone is responsible for what they do and what they choose. So as I come across this, I want to share this to you. We should not wait until something happens for us to experience it, to believe it. It's good to listen before we experience things, because when we wait to make sure what we're hearing is the truth, we may have undergone pain, problems that lead us to listen, but we should listen at the beginning and hear the truth. I wrote something on my Facebook page, posted, I say, this book I had written is titled The Hidden Tears of a Black Male. It can fit many males of any race. I recall a young lady read the book, and she said she saw herself in the book, and she saw things about her boyfriend, they're married now, in the book, and it helped her to relate to herself and to him. And I was astonished that it touched her, especially she was a different race. Of course, all my writings, all my book can go across different races. It's not specifically geared toward black or white. It just pertains to what topic I may think of today. But this particular book is my experiences in my walk, other people experiences, things I overheard, just things over the years that I compiled and put it together. It's very good. If I had not wrote it, and I came across it, just the title would have captured my mind. And I posed and I say, well, I asked a question on Facebook, and believe it or not, no male responded. Whether they read it or glanced it, I was maybe surprised that I got no response. And it has a simple question. When we share our pain from being mentally and physically abused from the hands and minds of a female, it will help other males who may be experiencing the same thing. In my line in police work, I never responded to a call where the female calls the police department and says she had wanted one officer to come. Male called and said, I want an officer to come to the house because my wife or girlfriend is beating up on me. But we have seen this when it comes to women. A woman will call very quickly to say that her boyfriend or husband is abusing her mentally, physically, and emotionally, and also will come and look at the physical evidence, and 9 times out of 10, the man will go to jail. But a man would not call because of shame and being embarrassed, because we have said, be a man. But in the eyes of females and males, what is a man? Is a man defined by how good he kisses, how much money he has, how good he is sexually, or the property he possesses, or he's intelligent? What is a man? Everyone have their own opinion, and you need to look at it and say, does that really qualify a man? Or, hello, Anthony Harris, is it respond by a man? So if you think about it, most men would not pick up the phone and call another man. They may call their father if the father is in their life, or grandpa, someone they trust, and share something about themselves, or they may say, I got a friend. But most men would not pick up the phone and call other men who they do not know, or even a casual friend or their homeboy or whoever they consider, and say, my girl, my wife is beating up on me. What do I need to do? How can I respond? Hello, my sister, Trisha. Most men will not call their loved one, another man, to express that my woman or wife is beating me up. I recall when I lived in an apartment, I heard a bunch of noise outside, and I looked through the peephole and I saw this short female, which is my next door neighbor. Maybe she about 5'5", and she had this tall guy, maybe as close to 7 feet, 6'5", something like that, skinny build. And what she did, she had him jacked up with her hand against his chest and had his fist and say something. And this male would not say anything. And I was going to open up the door, but I said, no, I better not open the door because he might jump out and pretend that he's bad and she may beat him up or something like that. So most men, and even I've talked to females, and they say, yeah, I know my friend or my girlfriend or my so-and-so husband or brother or somebody is experiencing abuse from a woman, and women are abusive. Women can be abusive. If you think about it, when you look at the TV shows and the news, and they say so-and-so professional sports or professional musician beat up his girlfriend or wife, but they never go into the details about what provoked him. No, it's wrong for him to beat up the wife or hit the girlfriend. He must begin to talk about it, from a perspective as, hold on a second, he must speak in a way of trying to help himself. So most men might just take the rap, because they don't want anyone to know that they are experiencing some form of abuse from their girlfriend or their wife, so they keep it to themselves. So go back to my posting. So when I posted on Facebook, share your thoughts, share your questions, or your concern, that maybe other males who are experiencing the same thing can go back and, other males who are experiencing the same thing will hear your story and feel that they are not alone. Most men will keep it to themselves, deal with the situation, and they say, okay, I don't want to get out of this marriage because I'm going to have to give up half, child support, alimony, or whatever. So they go out there and get in a relationship, fornication with someone, commit adultery, or whatever they may do to ease that pain, but it's still a self-imposed mental enslavement. They refuse to deal with the situation, and therefore they have put themselves in another mental prison. Even though they're in a prison, self-imposed mental prison I'm speaking of, they are holding back their true thoughts on how they feel. So most men would not go to another man to say, my wife or my girlfriend is abusing me. What should I do? Because, like I said, some think it's, not manly to be beat up. You're supposed to be a man. Why you let someone abuse you that way? So they keep it in themselves, and some may kill themselves, commit suicide, fall into some behavior to try to ease the mental enslavement pain. And then when their spouse decreases on abusing them, they might feel some freedom or self-relief, and then the person could come back and beat them again. So individuals refuse to accept the truth. Some individuals refuse to accept the truth because of race. Some because of race, sex, or the person in position of authority, and especially when it comes to family members. We have individuals who will not even listen to a family member, even go to a family member. And they may have their right, they may have a good reason for it, but we should always be open to listen to whomever, not say, well, I don't like that person because of what. Who are we to say? When we say that, are we judging them? Are we judging them based on what we think or how they should behave or what they should be doing? Are we deceiving ourselves? Because I remember saying, you without sin cast the first stone. Don't be so quick to say that this person is not good enough for your listening ears. This person has a past that should not be considered. A person may be living a lifestyle that you may not want to listen because of their lifestyle. But if they're telling you the truth, you should listen. In this particular, my first book, He Still Speaks Now, Listen, it has a compilation of different writing. This was my first book, not in this form. When I wrote this particular book, I went to Kinko's and made 10 copies, and all of them sold in one day. Because I knew some people that know I like to talk and write. And I just reminded, when I was young, I used to study a lot, S, that, though, the tight shrimp and street, those type of words I used to stutter, had a speech impediment. So I kept to myself, didn't open my mouth, and then the teacher recognized that I had a problem and sent me to a speech therapist class, and I learned to begin to pronounce certain words. I knew I had a problem. I didn't ask for any help. Back then, I did not know about self-imposed mental enslavement. I was enslaving myself to my own feelings and how I felt, and I didn't want to seek help. So in this particular book, you can go to Amazon.com. You can buy any one of my books, or CreateSpace.com, which is a subsidiary of Amazon.com. And if you want to get an autographed copy, like I've mentioned on my other page, you can email me or text me or put in a message, and I'll sign it for you. They're on promotion, $10, 3 for $25. So anyway, in this particular book, just write off some title I got. Do not text me. What would you do for? Baby got back. Comprehend this. You are the product of your own thought. And I got, you're my dog. You are projecting outward. I'm married. I want a divorce. If I should die in my sleep, our friend has died. Who is your servant? I'm losing my mind, looking in the mirror. When you think about what I just shared with you, the title, you may think, well, I know what that is about. But do you? Because there again, I have a unique style that I can take certain things, give you a certain subject, and I will bring it into a deeper thing. And so, as I say, self-imposed mental enslavement. We all have heard or know of the word slavery or slave. It is normally applied to the black race, but anyone can be a slave. You can be a slave from your own self-imposed mental enslavement. So I'm going to define what is a slave. A slave, what is a slave? What is slavery? A state of being enslaved, bondage, enslavement. The practice of system of owning slaves, a condition compared to that of a slave in respect of exhausting labor or restricted freedom. One person has absolute power over another and control his or her life and future force of work. the topic of my discussion is mental enslavement. You must be free. You must begin to escape from the mental plantation that you have put yourself on. I wrote this other book, you can't tell because it's white, it's titled, You Need to Deliver, Escape from the Plantation. Escape from the Plantation, and I did post it on Facebook, and I go by, let me see if I got it. Did I delete it? Hold on, let's see if I see it. Let's see if I find what I post. Let me paraphrase it. What I mean by staying on the plantation that benefits me. If I tell you something and deceive you with lies and a little bit of truth to say, to believe what I want you to believe, it actually benefits me, not you. When you begin to listen to others, do your home research and facts, you discover that you have been lied to and you fall into the deception pool. So you want to escape because what you have learned. You escape from the plantation of somebody else's belief. In order for them to get you back on their plantation, they must lie to you, to tell you. They must lie about you, make accusations to get you back on their plantation of ideas and belief. And by doing so, depending on what they say about you, you run back to their plantation and say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to run off, I didn't mean to do my own thing. And they give you a little bit of truth with a little bit of lies. So I want you to think about another form. I know it's Black History Month. I see on Facebook, well, individuals put different things about slavery, what the black race went through, and that's fine. My thing is, when you put that out there, what is your purpose? Is it to educate me so I can take from what I'm hearing or what I read and what I see to make a difference in my life, not only in my life, but in the lives of others? That's one reason. Or you want me to be angry at another race because of what they've done to black people in the past. That's the second reason. There's only two reasons, unless you got three, but it should be because either one, be accepting it, doing your homework, researching from it, bettering oneself to help yourself and other people is a good thing. The other way keeps you in bondage because you won't let yourself free to even consider that what you heard is truth. So I want you to think about what I'm going to share with you that's making you a slave. You will hear that you have done it, or you doing it. You are enslaving yourself. You can do your own research about physical slavery and read about their experience, rapes, murders, homosexual acts, health problems, susceptible to disease, all types of disease. Separated from family member, kidnapped, put on the auction block, had no name of his own. There's another form of enslavement that can be included in those physical examples that I gave you, that you and I experience every day of our lives. And just think about it. When you read something about black slaves and what they endure physically, emotionally, and physically, then ask yourself, are you experiencing the same thing in the 2018? And if you are truthful with yourself, you will say, you know what, I have put myself on my own slave plantation. I have become my own. You and I, at times, had enslaved ourselves, and is doing it today. Also, we are enslaving ourselves to the whipping post of our mind, experiencing, sentencing ourselves, one of those words I have a problem with, sentencing ourselves to slow mental death because of the lack of truth and the lack of facts. And all truth and fact should be given. Don't tell me that blacks experience slavery, or black experience lynching, or black experience this or that. That's fine, that's the truth. But give me all the facts, you know, because I may be going ahead of myself in another part. I got a message, but there are history out there which shows that whites was lynched for helping blacks that escaped, teach them how to read, put them, protected them all. When I think of slavery, or you may think of slavery, you may think slavery was all over the United States, but it was not. Some parts of the country did not tolerate, did not want to be a part of lynching and enslaving the black race. So when you and I hear slavery, we should ask ourselves, why is it being promoted today? Am I getting all the facts? Give me both sides. Let me decide what I want to believe, not pick and choose bits of information to rile up people's emotions and not miss the fact. When you discover your own homework, you will discover that yes, white individuals during slavery time were hanged, were lynched, were killed for helping blacks to escape, helping them to read, and various such things. It's the truth. And to deny the truth and only present one side, you're actually enslaving the other person. Now I realize in my lifetime, when you share things that go against, you speak the truth, you say it in such a way with facts that anybody can research for themselves, then your own race will get mad at you because they say you are Oreo, you're acting white, you're not one of us, you're Uncle Tom, you this and that, all kinds of stuff. And hello, Connie, all kinds of stuff. So when a black person begin to, this is a good one. We are told, go to college to get an education and be the best you can be and get out there when you graduate and get a job and go out there and do something with that degree. Then you're put in a position, maybe a manager or a boss, and you move up the ranks, and then you have to supervise a bunch of people. And I know from my own experience, because I was a manager once, when you start exercising your authority based on being hired by the boss, then other races of people, you know, I got it from white individuals, I got it from black individuals, I will begin to call me an Uncle Tom or the white man lover or whatever you want to think of to degrade me. And that's wrong. It is wrong to insult someone. It is wrong to refuse to listen to someone because of their race. So it's enough. So that person who was attacking me was putting themselves in their own self-imposed, that person was putting himself in their own self-imposed mental prison. They refuse to believe the truth. Because when people share something, whenever you hear something, you should always ask why. Why? Why is it being said today? Who benefits from why? If I want to get you to follow me, you're not really going to follow me if I just tell you the truth. If I have a hidden agenda behind something, in order for you to follow me, I'm going to stir up your emotions. When you stir up people's emotions, they will follow you without even thinking. And then become their own, they will become their own whipping. Let me see how I'm going to say it. They will become their own self. They have decided to walk in to the plantation. They have decided to walk in to someone's plantation of thoughts and ideas. And we have people today, you know, maybe you or someone you know, have actually walked into, allow themselves to be placed on a mental plantation of somebody's belief and ideas. For example, a young man who have never finished school, didn't go back to school for get a GED. He's out there doing his own thing. He meet his friend. He get under peer pressure, and he, in order to belong to that group or that neighborhood, he or she must decide, should they stay on the plantation of their father and mother and grandfather belief, or should they escape from those beliefs and go join another plantation of thugs and drug dealers and people out in the street doing their thing, earning money, killing their own race of people, selling drugs. So they walk in and say, here I go, master. I don't even have this written in my mess. Maybe somebody's going to hear this and need to hear it. So the person walks on to the mental plantation of the drug dealer or the drug seller or the drug supplier and say, here I go. I'm going to turn my back towards you. I'm going to lift up my shirt. Just go ahead and whip me, you know, because I deserve what I'm getting. And then after they whip you so much with words and accusation, you take the drug and go out in the street and you sell it, presenting to other races of people, and they get so addicted to it that you actually, let me sorry, say it, you actually become your own slave master, enslaving your own race of people with the drugs or whatever you're doing in your hand, and you empower them to come on your plantation. So you have your own stable of slaves on the thing. So that just came to me. Wow, some people are condemning themselves to their own slaveship of a mind. Some people are condemning themselves to their own slaveship of a mind. Their roaring oars are the thoughts that are controlling their destruction and their past. The thought that they're thinking is producing a slow, controlling, emotional-based enslavement that will lead them to destruction down some path. The only thing that can set them free from their self-enslavement is to recognize that they had enslaved themselves, and they are doing it right now. They need to admit that they have a problem and they need help, and apply what they have learned, and that is the beginning of the process toward being free from their own mental bondage. We are our thoughts. The thoughts that we think defines us. When you see a person on the street selling drugs, that's the thought that he's manifesting through his mind. When you see someone drinking alcohol or have a habit that they cannot break, they have become the very thing that they have allowed themselves to be. They have enslaved themselves for whatever reason. Is like I always mention in my message, people are quick to say, oh, you condemning so-and-so. It's not about, I'm not condemning anyone. I'm giving you facts and truths that you can do your own homework. What you do with that is totally up to you. That's why I said about these 3 books. You need to stay on the plantation. It benefits me. The Tears of a Black Male can apply to any race, and he still speaks. Now listen, that's 3 of many that I have. So the individual have enslaved themselves, and they're blaming someone else. They're blaming someone else for their lack of maybe education or upbringing from a single parent. So I'm not condemning. I'm giving information that you may already know. You can. It's like an onion. You peel off what you don't know. You accept what you don't know. It's gonna bring tears and call into question, what are you doing? Some have said or is saying it's the white race that had enslaved the black race, and that is true. Back in history, before you and I were born, we know. We can go. That's another topic. But yes, black individuals were enslaved, and there's in some parts of the country today, there are still slavery is going on. So don't deceive yourself that slavery has stopped. And it's not only the black race that being enslaved too. We have child kidnapping, what's the word I'm looking for? We trafficking, female trafficking, male trafficking. That's a form of enslavement. Snatch someone off the street, put them in the house, keep them in the house for years, and let them, have sex with them for years and years. That's a form of enslavement. Only you can free yourself. And with the truth and the facts, you must consider this message, and why not? Why not consider what I'm saying and ask yourself, look at your loved one and see where you are enslaving yourself by the choices you have made. You have no one to blame but yourself. When people come to you to tell you something, if it's emotional based, think about it before you say yes. Think about the hidden agenda. They may say this and say this and say that because they want you to stay on the plantation because it really benefits them, but they're deceiving you and say it benefits you. I can relate to a lot of things that I allow myself to stay on other people's plantation, and it didn't really benefit me. I experienced the pain and the suffering, and yet it came with pleasure, but it was still not good. Choosing not to believe that you are not experiencing some form of self-mental enslavement is to deny yourself deliverance, which is the key to truth. And you blame others for your problem and what you're going through. Whether you're aware of it or not, intentionally or unintentionally, you have become your own whipping post. A physical post, you know, you got the street light, the wooden post, the post to hold up the fence, you know, and that was used to tie the slaves back in the day, and they whipped them, and they put them out in the public square, and they whipped them with the whip back in the day. Think about, I'm gonna take you a little deeper. You and I, sometime or another, or maybe we're doing it right now, we have put ourselves, our physical body, we have put ourselves out for public. We put ourselves out there on the public square for people to see what we are allowing ourselves to be whipped with. And what I mean by being whipped with, if what I'm going to share with you has controlled you to a point, it has become your whipping rod, whipping you in your mind. Money, property, job, sex, alcohol, illegal drugs, food, and the latest fad, and you can name whatever. Some individuals have allowed this stuff to control them. They're whipping themselves, and the onlooker will see their self form of punishment. There again, I stress, when you see an individual is constantly can't get off the drug, refuse to get help, may have tried and fall and tried and fall, but don't continue to seek help because there may be too much help, maybe too much of a hold on them. They don't really ask for help. We can see that in the public square when you're driving your car or going to work to and from in the public arena, that everybody can see, oh, look at that alcohol, look at that person on drugs, look at that person selling dope. Yeah, we can see those physical enslavement that they are going through. But what about behind the closed doors, where a man or a woman is experiencing their own mental whipping post? They're whipping themselves because of the choices they have made in their lifetime. They refuse to say, you know what, enough is enough. I need to let this whip. I'm going to say the whip that's whipping you is the thought that you're thinking. I wrote a book titled, I forgot me. You always have thoughts in your head, always have snakes in your head. What I mean by that, you never amount to nothing. You're just like your dad, you're just like your father, you're no good, you just get out of my life. So the child and adult grow up, and that will be like a trigger word that their parents may have shared, that you never amount to nothing, never amount to nothing. So our thoughts, when we're thinking about our thoughts, if it's not good, even a good one, we can whip ourselves to change our behavior. Even the bad one can keep us in our own self-imposed mental prison when we have become our own warden. We give ourselves time served today. We make a mistake, we slip and fall, and we put ourselves back in our own mental prison, incarcerate our mind, and then we wait until something good happens. We let ourselves out with a new thought, a new idea, and then we run back because we don't associate ourselves with other individuals who are thinking like us. We need to surround ourselves with people who think positively, and we hang around people who think negatively, and they are no good for us, to us. They're holding us back for achieving. Begin to look at yourself and ask, do you have a purpose in life? Yes, some want to get married, have kids, and do all the good things, and that's fine. But there's others like myself to say, how can I make a difference in my life? And I want to make a difference in other people's lives. How can I bring about a change? So they are whipping themselves and blaming others for the punishment they're receiving. Think about it. They are whipping themselves with the thought that they're thinking. They're causing them pain. That pleasure may turn to pain, and pain may turn to pleasure. They are whipping themselves with their own thoughts, and they're blaming others for the punishment that they're receiving because they can't go any further. They have become their own whipping boy. That's a slave term. They become their own whipping boy. It's like going into the bedroom, taking a belt, drop their trousers or take their shirt off, and they just whip themselves with a belt and put the shirt back on, and no one can see the wounds and the scars on their back. But in difference, it's in the mind. They're whipping themselves in their mind with thoughts that they cannot achieve. They're whipping themselves by history. They're whipping themselves with whatever and blaming other people. They have become their own whipping boy, experiencing self-punishment, inflicting punishment on themselves knowingly, even though they have become self-hatred towards self because of their lack of knowledge and the truth. Dying slowly because the lack of truth, refusing to accept the truth, and refusing to do their own homework. I'm going to say that again because that's very important. They have become their own whipping boy in their mind. They whip all their thoughts that they're whipping themselves with. It's producing pain, and they're blaming someone else for their pain instead of looking at themselves and thinking about the thought that they're thinking that's causing them a problem that has not worked for them. They're dying slowly because they refuse to accept the truth, seek out the truth, look, research, and do their own homework, and die to pride and admit that they need to escape off the plantation of their belief because it's holding them back. They have enslaved themselves until someone come across their path, begin to them choose, they must decide. Blaming others without considering our part keep us chained to our whipping post of mind. In a chain. There are links in a chain. An alcoholic, I'm going to use this for example, an alcoholic, a drug dealer, someone who uses drugs, or any behavior you can think of that you know can lead to death that is wrong. Each behavior has a chain link in it. If you take one link out of the chain, it drops. The person will probably change a little bit because that link has been dropped out and then formed again. So, hello, my sister Anna. So when you think about a chain link, every link it can be a thought. You drop that thought, you know what? I shouldn't do this today. So that link drop and the chain connects. Then you still do what you want to do. You say, no, I'm tired of doing what I'm doing. So another link drop and then the chain come together. You said, I'm tired. I want to quit doing this because it's leading me to whatever. Then the links start dropping in the chain and then the links come together. Then war and behold, all that take time, maybe months, maybe years. It can be instant. But when we look at ourselves and begin to say, I need to change my lifestyle, my behavior, every little link will begin to fall and then it joins. So the links can vary pertains to you. Again, ask yourself, are you whipping yourself? Are you your own self-imposed whipping boy? The lengths of the chain varies. Some people has many lengths of thoughts that are holding them to their self-imposed mental whipping post. Many individuals have many links that they refuse to consider that need to be cut out of their lives. I mean, you cut out for those who may not heard, I'm describing if you know about a chain, you have a necklace and they have little links in it. Some of them do, and have a little clasp that do this. If you have a behavior that you're doing, then you cut out that link, one of them, and then connect it again. You still have the necklace or whatever to put around your waist. If you start analyzing yourself, evaluating yourself, and see that 4 or 5 links need to be cut out, and the link represent a thought, then it starts forming and it gets shorter and shorter. And sure enough, you can't put it around your neck. You can't put it around your wrist, around your ankle. So everyone has every one chain of thought varies from one another. That's why I say, don't judge yourself. Don't look at someone and say you cannot achieve, or don't look at that person and say, well, they're a drunker, they're a fornicator, they're this or that, or whatever their lifestyle they live in. Don't look at that person and say they cannot change. Yes, they can change. You and I, this is my little motto, it's a brain. Everyone has a brain, and it's the same color. It's not black, white, blue, whatever. Everyone has a brain. So when you look at an individual, don't say that they cannot change. They must be given the facts and the truth. And if they want to be free from this self-imposed mental enslavement, they will say, well, I need to escape from my plantation of alcohol, drugs, or whatever they're doing that they realize that they are doing is wrong, and they want to escape from it. And if they don't, they are whipping themselves on their own mental whipping post in their mind. Things in our lives can be better when we admit that we are our own abuser, punishing ourselves, excuse me, punishing ourselves with whatever. Our lives can be better if we realize that we have a problem. We realize that we need to research and find out the truth to set us free. What type of abuse? Improper treatment, excessive abuse, a deceitful act, physical maltreatment, emotional abuse, and verbal abuse. We look at these things and say, oh, someone else is mentally abusing me, using a deceitful act toward me. They are verbally abusing me. They are improperly treating me wrong. But if you look at a marriage or any relationship that you may be in or had been in, no one can make you do anything unless you allow yourself to agree with the person who's saying the very thing to you or about you. If you accept what they're saying about you without your own research, without the truth, then you have allowed yourself to say, okay, master, I'm going to come on your plantation of ideas and belief because you must be right, because I have not succeeded. And you become their slaves and they become your master. And then also you become they become your master, you are their slave, and in turn, you are self-abusing yourself, denying you have a problem, denying you need help, denying you need to do your own homework and research and do the things that must be done. We all are experiencing some form of mental enslavement that is restricting our freedom. We have absolute power over ourselves. As I said at the beginning of this message, it's a thought when I was looking at some videos or someone put on Facebook about different types of slavery and what the slave went through. Then I had this idea to come with a series, and I don't know how many parts in this message. This is part 2. And I decided to, you know what? I'm going to introduce to the listeners another thought, another spiritual enlightenment to begin to look at slave, if they know their history, in a different way and apply it to themselves. For those of you who are online, if you want to make a comment, ask a question, that's fine. So the thought came to me, that'd be neat. I always read things about slaves went through this and that. I'm not saying it's not out there. I know I have the talent because like I mentioned, I had a speech impediment and I used to study and keep to myself and didn't share, didn't want to talk, didn't want to read a book because they didn't have no pictures, yada, yada, kind of stuff. And then all my life, I look at myself and say, okay, thought just came to me. A person said, I've never been on a plane. Why not? Because it may fall out of the air. And it has fallen out of the air. So they put themselves in a self-imposed mental prison and they never fly an airplane. So they drive. Take longer to get there, but they drive. That's their choice. That is a good example of self-imposed mental enslavement. They listen to the thoughts. They did their homework. They might have heard it on the news. They may hear other people saying, no, you don't want to fly because if you fall, you're going to fall. And the fear sets in and they begin to control the individual. So we as human beings, we need to begin to say, call into question, where do I need to remove one link or 2 link of thoughts that's causing me to do what I'm doing? Yeah, let me say this again. When you remove, like I'm going to use alcohol, for example. If a person cannot stop alcohol and they want to stop and they decide that they want to stop drinking alcohol, depending on what they're thinking, that link of thought, 1 may drop, 2 may drop, and then they form the link again. They may keep drinking, but they start drinking less. You follow me? Then they say, wow, I'm not drinking as much as I used to. They remove another link of thought that associate with that behavior, and then the link come together. And as depending on how long the link is, it may take years and months and whatever, and then all of a sudden, down to 2 or 3, they quit drinking. But the only way for that to happen, they recognize that they have allowed themselves to be their own whipping boys by the thoughts that they're hearing from other people. They have put themselves in a self-imposed mental prison that only they can release themselves from. So thank all you all for joining me. God willing, I'll be back next Sunday with part 3. Just remember, what you're hearing can apply to you. You may come across the path of somebody else. They need to hear it. If you think about it, now I'm thinking about it now, that every one of us of any race have put ourselves out there on our own public square. Public square can be your job. Public square can be your house. Public square can be in your marriage or divorce. Public square can be in your lifestyle. You have put yourself out there for other people. Say, oh, I know so-and-so. Oh, look what they're doing. Oh, I know so-and-so. I remember this. I remember that. So that's what I mean by putting yourself out on a public square. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, they changed. Well, they don't do that. They don't do that. You put yourself out on a public square. And then even when you're behind your closed doors, your loved one, your husband, your children may begin to see and say, wow, mom and dad not behaving this way anymore, because your children have observed you on your public square in marriage behind closed doors. So self-imposed mental enslavement can go impotent. You can take it and think about it, and it goes another level, and another level, and another level, and another level. And then you drop. But always remember, when you decide to seek help, a link of thought can be removed from that behavior, but you can still do the behavior. But if you're constantly saying, I want to cut the chain, I'm going to cut the chain of thoughts that's causing me to do this, then this brain that you and I have will begin to function normally, and we're not whipping ourselves. So in closing, thank you for visiting my channel, my live Facebook broadcast. If you like what you heard, you can share it with other people. You can make a comment. As I mentioned before, and I close by saying this, we have to get over our pride. Pride kills us slowly. We're afraid to admit what we're going through. We're afraid to admit the truth. We're afraid to reveal something about ourselves because we don't want people to think badly about us. If you watch me doing Facebook and you read my books and you watch went to my channel and look at my YouTube videos, I use a lot of my experience into what I've gone through because I noticed that it helps me. But before then, I used to keep everything in my own book, in my own mind. So when we share things with other people, we can be a blessing to others. We can't make them do anything. We give them information, let them research it, let them find the facts. And if they may see and hear what you're telling them and don't even bother doing anything with it, like me. And in years of doing what you want to do and go whatever, I always say, if you live in your hometown and you never forget about Atlanta or Jacksonville or Florida, if you never go into another part of the state and you always stay in your little self-imposed mental prison of Jacksonville or South Carolina in Atlanta, and you never really stayed there longer than 2 or 3 days, if you stay there longer than 2 or 3 days, you're going to realize that everybody is not thinking like people that live in Savannah, Georgia. And I learned that by traveling in my years of traveling. So we must begin to think. We must begin to move ourselves out of our own comfort zone. You know, don't say like I used to say, well, I don't need to know that. It don't pertain to me. But does not pertain to me? Because things that people do who are in power, who are in politics or whatever laws are passed or anything that comes out of people's mouths, whether we in another part of the country, can affect us indirectly. We must begin to always ask that 3-letter word that always tell people, why? Why am I hearing this? Who benefits? Another 3. Who benefits from my participation in all that I'm going through? So thank you. Share, comment, and who knows? You may be a blessing to someone that needs to hear it. They may be on their last bit of giving up, And some people who refuse to admit that they have a problem do what? They kill themselves, or they drink themselves slowly with drugs and alcohol. So thank you. Have a nice night.